cock's out, I'm ready.
Oh, wow. All right. And welcome into the DSRL Roundtable, Episode 1. I'm your host here, Seta. Co-host is going to be your boy over here, WarEagle, followed by your boy, Veteran. And we have our draft analysis. head coach out of the NCAA, coach of Arkansas State over here coming in. Welcome in, guys.
What's up?
How you guys all doing today?
I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you
Yup,
guys here.
ready to
Glad
get
to
this
have you
draft
guys
going.
here. Yeah, ready to get this draft going too. But I'd like to get the stream off talking about how the DSRL Madden League finished off last season. I want to say it was a pretty crazy year for the league. I mean, you had some teams that were outright dominant from the get-go. Some teams that started off, terribly. WarEagle, how about you take over on this one?
Well, to start with, got to give you your flowers that to go from 0 and 7
Oh, and 7, yeah.
to win 10 straight games to make the playoffs. It's nothing to scoff at, but kind of raised more questions than you did answers with a lot of your moves this season with your team. I mean, they all look solid, but how's it going to come together in the long run?
I mean, realistically speaking, this is kind of a future move for us. I mean, we're definitely building long term. I mean, the hope is that we can still win now with the pieces that we still have on defense and built around the skill positions. I still believe we have a top 5 offensive line, and I believe with the quarterback we're bringing in via this NFL draft, I think he's already going to be a better piece than Deshaun Watson in this offense.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. We got our draft guy. He's in our league. It's Arkansas State. I'm sure as he goes along, we'll come to know him more personally. But right now, that's all we'll get into. He's going to talk about that first overall pick, Buck Minich out of Michigan.
And just a lot to talk about him. I mean, he's a once in a lifetime talent. A lot of Josh Allen comparisons I've been hearing from a bunch of different draft boards with a 95 throw power and a 80 plus accuracy to go with that. And don't fall in love with his arm, but he can beat you on the ground with a 70 speed. And he's a superstar dev, so definitely a guy to watch out in his coming years. He won the Heisman as a freshman and in his sophomore year at Michigan. So definitely a great addition to the Browns, and we'll just see how they do this upcoming year with him at quarterback.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they got their guy at quarterback for the foreseeable future. But and talk about right after that, I think a little bit of panic seeped in with the Colts, and they turn around and drafted probably one of the riskier prospects in the draft with Holden Garner out of Auburn. He being the coach of that guy for 3 seasons, the man turned the ball over a lot, but as soon as he makes a bad play, he pulls a Brett Favre and makes a throw you'll never see again.
Yeah, I was gonna
So,
say. I
yeah.
mean, he definitely had some ups and downs at Auburn. I mean, if I remember correctly, did he not set the single season passing record for you guys there?
Along with not only that, but he set almost every season and career passing mark at Auburn, broke Cam Newton's career passing touchdown record, broke his season passing touchdown record, did both in the same season. So when I took over the school, it was not a very pass-centric school, and very much the plan was to keep it that way. But when you get somebody like Garner who just wants the ball in his hands and makes plays with it, you don't fret from that, and it's worked pretty well so far. 3 years in, have 5 losses. It's a record anybody would take.
No, absolutely.
Big games are going to be a concern for him. 0-2 in SEC title games, and obviously there was that slugfest of the defenses against Notre Dame that he made some nice throws in, but not enough to get the job done.
Yeah, he definitely made 2 spectacular plays that I believe resulted in touchdowns for that team. But again, yeah, he was very limited. It was boom or bust for the offense for the Auburn Tigers that day, as the run game was unable to establish itself either. Really putting Holden Garner in a lose-lose situation on that one.
And then rounding out, our top 5 of, I believe the only real noteworthy other picks is the Cardinals selecting Joe Alt big concern there. Great, you have a very stout offensive line now. Some great playmakers on offense with Anthony Schwartz and DeAndre Hopkins and Trey McBride. But then the question becomes, who's going to be throwing on the ball? Because right now they've got Daniel Jones, Josh Rosen. I'm sorry. They've got those two on their roster, and Davis Mills is a recent addition to look for, but who knows? It's going to be a big test this year is finding a quarterback for this team.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that's going to be one heck of a quarterback battle at camp between those three players, just trying to figure out who is going to be the man in Arizona. Because as you said, I mean, that offensive line is just filthy now. Joe Alt is just, once in a lifetime, honestly, an offensive line prospect. I believe 6'8", about 315, and just that's a behemoth there on the line. Like, good luck getting past that, man. I believe he only gave up 6 career sacks and 4 seasons starting for the Fighting Irish. So, definitely not going to get past that man very often.
Well, next to him, you've got Ben Powers from Oklahoma. He's a solid piece, and Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas really came in strong last year and played well for Arizona, showed that he can be the center of the future. Will Hernandez is a mauler at the other guard position, and so is Terrence Steele. I mean, it's a road grading offensive line, and then their defense. I mean, they added Rashawn Gary. Felix Anadike-Uzama was a Rookie of the Year candidate last year for them on defense. And then finding a defensive tackle for running mate for Jalen Carter is going to be big, but they could have one of the best defensive lines in football, probably outside of Cleveland after that.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of our top 3 picks, I mean, going back to the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, so taking Holden Garner second overall is, while it is a risky pick in itself, I mean, that's a good pick, but correct me if I'm wrong, they have a second-year quarterback already on the roster. I believe it's Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee, and it really doesn't seem like the franchise has much faith in him. Speaking to the head coach recently, it seemed like Coach McMichael just really does not like the propensity for that man to commit turnovers, his inaccuracy in the short and intermediate games. When you look at it that way, I can understand why they make the move. However, I still believe Hendon Hooker does have a spot somewhere in this league. If it's not with the Indianapolis Colts, it is as a stable backup for somebody somewhere. Yeah, I mean, you got to believe Hendon Hooker's career isn't going to be over because of this move, do you?
Oh, absolutely not. He will find a home in this league. Athletic quarterbacks always do. They always bounce back. They always find a spot in the league, and this is going to be no different. Only question is, what does he ask for in return, and is that spot going to be as a backup in Indianapolis because he values him too highly, or will it be, he gives up just something to get something back?
Yeah, I mean, in my humble opinion, I would keep Hendon Hooker in case of emergencies, just due to the fact that Garner himself is a scrambler, and with a mobile quarterback, there is a higher chance for injury, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you don't have a stable quarterback backup, in your room, because if this new guy goes down, what are you going to do now? Your season's lost. It's a complete wash.
So going into that, and speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk a little bit about your trade partner for Deshaun Watson, Minnesota. Just talk us through kind of how and why that negotiation came through, and why ultimately you made the decision to move on from Deshaun Watson after he ultimately won you guys 10 straight games and got you through to the playoffs.
See, now there's a lot of logic behind it, and it is a bit to talk about. Now, starting the season 0-7, Deshaun Watson was at one point benched for Kellen Mond, who just was not the answer. He proceeded to actually play worse than Watson, so we realized we did have to stick with the man. But during those first 7 games, the Browns had a 2 touchdown to 14 interception ratio from Deshaun Watson, and when you're paying somebody $230 million of guaranteed money, that is not the type of production you'd like to see. We were the worst offense in the league, and his inability to throw led defenses just to stack the box on Nick Chubb, and it smothered our rushing attack as well. So, although Deshaun Watson did finish the season with 27 touchdowns, so that is, now, you know, a lot of scores in those remaining 10 games. The value there just wasn't what we need as a franchise if we're going to take the next steps past the divisional rounds. So with that trade, we had already made a trade with the Commanders for the 5th overall pick. Surrendered our 2nd. The offer for Deshaun Watson 17 places higher than our initial 2nd-round pick, and we already planned to draft a quarterback of the future, so we were willing to part with him for less than the initial value I expected. Getting rid of him there just seemed like the easy option to also necessitate cap space. The man's contract was just absolutely ludicrous, and we had to make room that, we're going to be able to make moves in the future. And long story short, it was a money move.
Fair enough. Speaking on quarterbacks, it looks like we have a comment here from the Mississippi State head coach asking about his quarterback, Will Rogers, at the Combine. We'll go down a level and talk college prospects. So Will Rogers finished with a 5.11 40-yard dash, 5.11 40-yard dash. Did 9 reps on the bench press, had a 25-2 vertical, 9-foot broad jump. Ran a 7.51 on the 3-cone and a 4.74 in the 20-yard shuttle. Slightly improved on his 40 at the pro day with a 5.03. Did slightly worse on the bench with 8 reps, and mostly held water with every other drill he performed. Threw as expected, a lot of short things he did well, some deep things he did nicely, but overall those air raid offenses do not lend well to the NFL. I mean, recently that's starting to change, but even still they come from offenses, with the exception of Patrick Mahomes. They come from offenses that have started to blend the run back in and are starting to get back more of that run and gun West Coast type of offense while incorporating spread principles. Not so much the traditional air raid in the sense of a Mike Leach type system, but that's a lot of what that boils down to.
I still think he'll find a home in the league, though. I mean, looking at his stats, I mean, he's
100%.
definitely not a bad caliber quarterback. I just don't see him being a starter immediately, maybe a spot starter in case of emergency. But I genuinely think that if this man's going to start, it's going to take a team developing him for a good 3 to 4 years in this league and putting a lot of effort into that, because he definitely has the talent, but I don't think he's ready for the NFL quite yet.
Oh, absolutely. I personally liken him to a Chase Daniels who, regardless of people say, well, he didn't start, he didn't throw many career passes. How many quarterbacks can say they played 15 plus years in the league, retired with 2 Super Bowl rings, and are heading vastly towards a coaching career? I mean,
the average NFL contract, the average NFL career is like 3.5 seasons, 1 full contract length. Nobody really makes it past that first contract term. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he didn't do terribly.
He did a lot better than most would, and any time he's been filled in to start, when have you ever thought of him pulling a Nathan Peterman type performance?
I don't think I can actually.
He's always been a steady hand if you needed him to step in and go, which is which is all you can ever really ask of any backup, especially when you have a good starter.
Oh, absolutely.
I think if you ask me, the
Go ahead.
best situation for Will Rogers would be somewhere, I don't know, kind of like into a... Actually, Minnesota would be a good one because by the time Deshaun Watson hits 32, 33 in a few years, he will start to be ready to take over when all those bad hits inevitably start taking their toll on Watson.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think Watson's also a good mentor quarterback. The dude does understand how to play football. He understands how to make reads. I just don't think his time in Cleveland was just well spent. I think Watson would be a good quarterback to learn from.
Yeah. A lot of things to learn from, but just as many don't do's as do's.
Oh, absolutely. You're definitely not going to want to take life lessons from Deshaun Watson. Maybe just stick to the football.
Absolutely.
Oh goodness.
Speaking of college football, let's get away from the quarterback position for a second and talk about a very special position group in this draft that's got some of the best at their position that we have ever seen come through college football. Let's talk about running backs.
Oh, absolutely. I also do believe it is time to get the clock running on our draft. If you'd like to resume that, as I don't want to glitch it on our end.
All right, the NFL draft is back underway. The Buffalo Bills, Spiffy Tay is on the clock.
The Buffalo Bills are now on the clock. I'm curious to see what their needs are, honestly. I mean, they kind of had a lackluster season last year. I do believe they finished 8-9 or something along those lines. And I do believe they also started pretty hot. They did have a pretty hefty winning streak through that middle half of the season, and they were giving me nightmares when it came to wondering if I was going to make the playoffs, even in the midst of my lengthy winning streak that even gave me the chance. I mean, after going 0-7, you know you have to win out to even remotely think about it. And about 7 games in, I was tied at 7-7 with about 4 or 5 teams in the league, and it was becoming very nerve-wracking just knowing they're not giving you any breathing room, nothing along that. So the Bills, I feel like if they fill a couple of vanity positions, a few skill positions, they might be able to take that next step. I also do believe they lost Gabe Davis this offseason.
They did to the New York Giants.
They did. So I do believe that might actually be something they need to fill here.
So while we're on the topic of filling needs, one thing I'm just baffled about that I really hope gets filled here soon, how about those Chargers and their quarterback mess they have?
Yeah, that's something that's really concerning me, as I also do not believe they selected a quarterback in the first round.
They did not. They took a receiver.
They took a receiver, and they just let Justin Herbert walk off of, I believe, his rookie deal.
Yes, off of his rookie deal to the Carolina Panthers for over $200 million that they could have paid him. They have the cap space. Javier Webb, defensive tackle out of West Virginia, off the board to the Denver Broncos, or to the Buffalo Bills, I apologize. I will go ahead and get that pick skipped.
Denver Broncos will be quickly off the clock. And Stan Scott, tight end out of Auburn, is going to go to Denver.
WarEagle.
WarEagle, indeed. I believe that may, depending on how he works out, may be able to fill, I believe, what's his face? Who did they send to Seattle? In the
Freiermuth.
Whoever they send, I mean, I know they've definitely had a need. Their offense has been decidedly anemic over the past few years. So it'd be nice to see them at a nice skill position here. We'll see how this tight end does. And it puts
a big trade. I'm getting the details of this deal together as we speak. I will have them very shortly. All right, so for this trade, the Panthers sent the 29th overall pick as well as their second round pick to move up 13 slots in the draft. So a gutsy move. Let's see what they're going for.
I do believe we have the Carolina Panthers head coach on the call. Coach Vet, are you here right now?
I'm here, and
all right, can we get some insight onto this trade?
I saw a player that I think is going to go before my pick 29, and we need to make a move happen.
Well, right. You're on the clock now. So spill the beans. Let's see. Who is it?
Oh, come on, Coach. Give us something here.
Oh, my God. Can I select it?
He's got us anxiously waiting for his pick. I believe we've got Jared Schaefer. Center out of Penn
jumping
State.
Up for a center. That's an interesting move. So I can see the Falcons going after offensive line help. Is that the team that we were jumping there?
We were jumping them for sure to get in front of the Falcons. That was part of the plan. But I also wanted to get a good center before they were all taken away.
I mean, and that makes sense as well. I mean, good offensive linemen are definitely, really important to have, especially in a league as competitive as this one. With pressure coming from all directions, especially in a division like yourself, where you've now added a couple new users. You have to deal with a very stout Falcons team. Regardless of the ratings, that team is always going to give you a run for your money. I don't care if he's rocking a 60 overall team. Some way, somehow, it's going to be a one-score game at the end of the game against that dude. He's just how he plays.
Yeah, for sure. We had a top running game this year, and I just wanted to make sure that even though we signed Justin Herbert to $200 million plus deal, I just wanted to make sure that we still have a run game like we did last year, because we could be the most deadly offense in the league if we do.
And speaking of deadly offenses, I do believe you were just a couple of places behind what turned out to be the number one offense in the league last year. I believe that was the San Francisco 49ers. They were, I don't even know how to put it. They were extremely boomer bust offense. I do believe Trey Lance may have finished towards the bottom of the league in interceptions thrown. I know he had over 20, but I think he also led the league in passing touchdowns. So
he definitely had a Jameis Winston type year, because he led the league in interceptions and he led the league in touchdowns. So it was impressive, but
Joseph Fant, cornerback out of Northern Illinois, goes to the Falcons. It's going to go a long way towards solidifying that room with some already talented players in that secondary.
No, absolutely. It's definitely good to see them bolstering their defense.
All right, now the picks are coming in quicker. Dexter Whitlock, tackle out of LSU, goes.
Yeah, we may see a run on offensive lineman here. And I bite my words right there as Jamie Burnett at a Tennessee wide receiver is selected by the Baltimore Ravens as they look to continue to give Lamar Jackson weapons on the outside to open up this offense. And oh my God, holy smokes, we just had multiple picks come in. We just had a defensive tackle go off the board. I was not able to catch his name. And we also had Tyler Burbank, right tackle out of Arizona State, go to the Philadelphia Eagles. We now have Brandon Howe, left tackle out of UCLA, going to the Jaguars. We're starting to see that run on offensive line I was predicting fulfill itself as we're hitting the end of this first round. Pick 24 on the board with the Chicago Bears. And they themselves were an interesting story themselves, going out and drafting Bryce Young last year. And Bryce Young not seeing the field not once for the Chicago Bears. Meanwhile, Justin Fields took a massive step forward in offensive production and led them to, I'm not sure the record, was it 12-5, 13-4? But regardless, that team was explosive and he was a productive quarterback this season. So you do have a very interesting dilemma there. Do you continue to just keep a potential superstar quarterback as your backup on the bench and continue to draw closer to having to either just let him walk or pay him pay him superstar money. I still wonder what's going on with the Chicago head coach's thought process on this one. I mean, what do you guys think there?
I'm hearing that he's going to move on from one of them rather quickly. I know he's already taken some offers on Bryce Young going forward. Said that kind of lit a fire under Justin Fields and got him going in a way that he did not expect that it would.
Absolutely. I mean, that would shake me up too. I mean, as I'm taking strides on offense, to draft a quarterback that highly in a highly touted quarterback like that, to me that signals my job's at risk. And yeah, I'd play like my ass is on fire as well, and he showed it.
Okay. Got to remember, I have 2 separate drafts pulled up here, draft boards, looking at.
Oh, jeez. We just saw Lucas Abbott, another tackle, go off the board to the Chicago Bears, right tackle out of Michigan. That's 2 now Michigan players for sure have gone off the board in this first round. Good year for them.
As a former offensive lineman myself, this is beautiful to see.
It seems like people are taking their lineman positions just very, very seriously this draft. I feel like
should.
I mean, as you always should, but it definitely seems like there is some significant reaching going on in this first round. I'm worried that some of these teams will be very disappointed at the end of the day with the overall, realizing they probably could have gotten another need filled and picked this player up in potentially the 2nd or 3rd round.
Oh, absolutely.
Waiting to see what the Houston Texans do here. Very curious to see what they do, as they did trade back quite a bit in this draft. I mean, this is their 2nd pick.
It is a fantastic investment for them, though, especially for a team with as many holes as they are. Load up on draft picks and then just build your team that way. I've always been a fan of building your team to the draft. I think that is the correct way to do it. Don't overspend in free agency on a player that you're going to have on a rental for a few years. Get that player into the system early and mold that player how you want to mold them.
And another offensive lineman off the board, this time Houston selecting Don Smith, a right guard out of Florida State. I want to say we've seen probably now, what is that, like 7 or 8 linemen go off the board in a row.
This is the hog molly draft, and I love it.
Definitely a draft for the big boys. Love to see them getting love here early in this first round. And we see our first non-offensive line player go off the board rather quickly here for the Green Bay Packers. They select Armin Yarborough, free safety out of USC, looking to fix their secondary. Definitely seemed like they had some holes last year, as I do not believe they did very well.
You know, it starts up front. Look at this. Another left tackle taken off the board out of Notre Dame.
Offensive line new right there. That's 2 offensive linemen for the Fighting Irish. This is one a backup to Joe Alt. As you see, Joe Alt was a left tackle, but the depth is so good at Notre Dame for these offensive line positions that even career backups are getting taken because they have the size, the strength, just everything that these teams are looking for in terms of a lineman.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco takes the O-line here, because their O-line was not good at protecting Trey Lance this year. It caused him to throw a lot of interceptions and had him on the run all year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they fill a hole right there.
Yeah, but at this point, how many offensive linemen have gone off the board in this first round? Like, what kind of talent are we looking at? Let's go to the draft board and take a look for ourselves. I will give you guys the full screen again here on stream to make sure you guys
But that
are
it
able
boils
to
down
see
to
it.
economics, that need creates value. If these guys are obviously
We still do have first round
offensive line
talent.
needy.
We have excellent first round Excuse me, all. We still have excellent first-round talent still on the board here for this first round. We have Donovan Dunbar, another offensive lineman out of Michigan, left tackle. And we do have Daniel Andrade out of Florida, another left tackle, both graded pretty well. I do like the way Andrade looks. He's appearing to have A, awareness, A, inside block, potential for from C to A pass block. His run block also looks relatively decent. And right here, it says he is a top fit for the Niners. So I'd like to see if he does go off the board here. We are down to 5 seconds on the clock. We will come back to see this pick. And they go wide receiver, Joseph Rich, I'm sorry. Wide receiver out of Florida. Definitely not the route I was expecting. What about you guys?
That's an interesting pick. I wouldn't have done that if I was the 49ers GM.
But we know 49ers user. He is a fan of his skill position players. We've known him in the past to load up on skill position players and use that to kind of mitigate his holes up front.
I'd also like to thank Quavo 2 times for tuning into the stream. Thank you so much for the follow, brother. I hope you're enjoying the content so far. But that being said, I mean, yeah, he's always been a speed and skill position guy. He's always had a fantastic quarterback, explosive DNs, and at least 2 to 3 guys who can burn you deep at the wide receiver position. And I mean, at that point, you know, if you're beating the press that quickly, you don't need that much time. Another Michigan player off the board here, Harvey Burnett, right end out of Michigan. But the Steelers...
Looking at my phone here, I think we may be getting another trade in the second round. Be on the lookout for that. I'm not going to spoil it to the people watching.
No, I mean, it's definitely something to be on the lookout for, especially given how live the trade day has been. I actually don't normally see this many trades on trade day. Usually people have got this squared away, but seeing how the draft is falling, I think a lot of people are realizing they either need to get up there real quick or they need to drop back and just gain as many players as they can. Bengals are on the clock here. They were one of the best teams in the league last year. Joe Burrow, I believe, finished the season 44 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Definitely ripped his way through the league. Pretty clean season. What do you see a position of need for the Bengals here? I mean, their offensive line looked pretty good last year.
There's
go ahead,
there's any number of positions they can go. It's a matter of what they want, really. If I'm them, honestly, I go best player available.
It's not the worst solution either. I mean, they really are kind of in a good situation. Give me 1 second, y'all. My cat is losing its mind. If you can keep going, give me 1 moment.
Personally, if I'm the Bengals GM, I'm taking a linebacker to fill a hole. Because right now, their starting left linebacker is Caden Ellis, and you know he's not a horrible player, but if they could pick up somebody in the first round that could fill that.
Apologize for that, y'all. But looks like the Bengals pick did come in. Alex Clemens, strong safety out of Boise State, going from a small school there. Interesting to see how he fits into the Bengals defensive scheme. I mean, going this high in the first round, I mean, even still, you know, the kid's got to have the talent. And quickly go the Raiders. Gordon Waters, defensive tackle out of Oregon State. I mean, the way the Beavers have been playing the last season or so, definitely good to see one of their players going in the top round. Nice to see the smaller schools making a representation here. And now we have a really important pick. Our Super Bowl winner and Dallas Cowboys are on the clock with the final pick of the first round. And I mean, that team looked just beyond well-rounded.
Unstoppable.
Like, absolutely. I don't see a need they have, but where do we think they're going?
Maybe, this might be a long shot, but maybe another corner they might get.
Either that or I could see them maybe looking at Dak Prescott's replacement if they're as well rounded as we say they are, and they go strong safety.
We are about to see a major breaking trade play out as you see Pittsburgh has moved up.
My phone is blowing up about it now myself.
Yeah, we have a major trade coming up as the Pittsburgh Steelers have moved up extensively early in this second round. Or I'm sorry. It looks like they're about to be trading away that second round pick, as you will see it coming up. The team to be announced shortly, but this is a big fucking move. Sorry for my language. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I know your language is going to get a little bit colorful because of how badly it affects you. That's horrendous for you.
Yeah, it's definitely not great, to say the least, but as soon as Houston and the Jets get off the board, we will announce this trade in full. But this is a major transition in power here, as I've already announced the Steelers are involved in the trade as they look to make themselves a relevant football team, as I do believe they finished the season 3-14. They definitely were in some close losses, but for the most part, Kenny Pickett and that offense consistently struggled. Najee Harris was not able to establish himself. Deontay Johnson was just not catching passes because of the ineptitude of the passing game. They have a lot of holes to fix, and moving back out of the second round makes me think that there's something huge a brewing.
Most definitely.
All right, we're waiting anxiously here for the second round to begin as the Houston Texans are taking their time making this pick. I mean, every second counts here. You may want to make sure you're not drafting a bust to your franchise. And Ty Jeffries, the tight end out of Florida, is now off the board. And I believe he did take an offensive lineman in the first round. Is that correct?
I think so.
I want to say he did. So, I mean, he's continuing to add to the line, and quickly do go the Jets. Forrest Hitchens, another offensive lineman, this time left guard out of Oregon, going there to secure the quarterback position for them. They've been struggling as well. Zach Wilson definitely is not it, but I think they're still trying to build around them and holding out hope that they didn't waste an exorbitant amount of money on this pick.
This fact that this guy's gone after his second year in the league to his new team is just baffling to me. Never would we have thought that of Bryce Young.
And we saw a massive change right there. The Chicago Bears received that second round pick, moved up to draft defensive tackle Brian Eason from Tennessee.
Oh, I like this guy.
Bryson Eason. I do believe we have a profile on this guy, do we not?
Yeah, so this guy is going to get after the quarterback. He is hang on one second. Anywho, sorry, but apologies for that. Getting some word on some potential deals, but anywho, this Bryson Eason, he's going to get after the quarterback. Not the best run stopper, but man, does he make his defensive ends look good. Because when you're a quarterback and you're having to scramble out of the pocket because a defensive tackle has just caved in that nice curved pocket, it allows the defensive ends to eat because they can disengage from their blockers, and all of a sudden that creates more problems because now you have possibility for holding penalties. You start letting rushers come free. If you have a mobile quarterback, that starts letting the quarterback get into trouble with scrambling because now these defensive ends can start flattening out in the line of scrimmage and forcing the quarterback out of bounds. It creates all kind of problems for an offense. And if he can build on that and fix his hand placement and pad level with a lot, there's no telling kind of what he can do from from a defensive tackle position, he could honestly turn into an Ndamukong Suh type player, just where he's an all-around headache to deal with all of the time.
Sorry for my silence. I'm on the clock and trying to figure out my draft pick currently.
How good. I like gushing on my big fellas since nobody else likes to love on the chubby guys. I like to give them a little bit of love on the air about what they can and do and how they affect offensive, not just these flashy skill position players.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just that most important position in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I've settled on my pick. I think we're going to be adding free safety Alonzo Richardson to the Browns, and I think that's the right pick here. Free safety out of Wisconsin. He is going to be a hidden dev player. I'm excited about this. He's coming in with 88 speed, 86 jumping, 84 change of direction, 88 agility, and 87 acceleration. Not a very strong player. But given the range of talents, I mean, his A to C tackling, you know, he looks like he's going to be potentially what we need to fill in, you know, what is now a hole after John Johnson and Grant Delpit both walked. And picks are starting to flood in. Who did I miss now, coaches?
Phil Graham, defensive end out of Georgia. Solid pick for where they're at.
Oh, absolutely. And now we're starting to see defensive linemen going a little bit quicker. Cassidy Spellman, defensive tackle out of Boston College, next. And that puts the Indianapolis Colts back on the board. And they got their quarterback of the future.
Help.
I mean, yeah, I think that's definitely... I mean, he's still got Jonathan Taylor, correct?
He does, and he's got a very solid defense, so I think getting Holden Garner a playmaker is going to be imperative. In college, you saw him improve drastically when they added someone we'll be seeing in this next class, Jared Hickman. Adding someone that can fly up and down the field like that and get open is much beneficial to a quarterback as somebody like a Camden Brown who can, you know, body up defenders. And having a dangerous duo like that, I think he's already got half of that in Michael Pittman. Just now getting that second lightning to the thunder of Pittman is going to be important here.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not understate that he does have KJ Hamler, and that is a very skilled pass catcher as well, but oh my goodness, that went too quickly, and I did not catch that pick.
He took a strong safety, so adding some help on the back end of his defense, also not a bad move.
No, definitely
more
not.
More support for your defense definitely allows those guys like Will Anderson to eat.
Well, I mean, when your best strong safety on the team is a player named Nick Cross at a 72 overall, I mean, that's definitely should be an upgrade for him, I would like to say.
All right, they have to go quarterback here. This has got to be a quarterback. I don't see what else it could be.
Hey, welcome in, Alpha. Nice to see you, brother. I hope you're doing well. We are going into, this is our third year now? Like third official season. Like this will be the second one we played, but we simmed year one to basically get it to real time and took over after the draft. This is PS5 Alpha. Please tell me you got one, because I know you said you're on PC playing this. But I mean, the Rams definitely had no offensive line last year, and Stafford was consistently left out to drive. So let's hope and pray we see something out of the Chargers here that has any semblance of them putting together a competitive team.
Are they going to run the Wildcat all year?
I mean, that might be what they have to do.
If they don't pick a quarterback here, they're screwed, man.
Yeah, we're gonna go take a look at their charts.
All
and
those
actually,
skill positions are great, but if you don't have anybody thrown to the ball, I checked before the draft. They don't have a quarterback on their roster.
Oh no, that's problematic. They better take a fucking quarterback. Again, excuse my language, but like, good Lord of mercy.
Oh, this is a big deal.
If I'm the Chargers, man, I gotta take Matt Byron
I mean, Matt Byron out of Portland State, which ironically enough is like literally like I could spit on Portland State from my window right now. Like, they're not necessarily known as a football school, but you're churning out a prospect like Matt Byron has definitely brought some notice to that program. The Vikings are definitely looking to use that publicity and hopefully. Oh my God.
Oh my God, they took a cornerback. Oh man, I sure hope they got a plan, guys. What are you doing?
I've got no words at this point. Like, I genuinely do not have words.
Maybe they're taking Will Rogers, like you guys brought up earlier in the draft.
I mean, he may wind up having to. I mean, there's got to be at some point on his board where, like, his GM is just going to say, you know what we don't have? We physically don't have a pass thrower on this team. Like,
so I wonder if he knows, because he's been MIA for a week. I wonder if he knows he lost Herbert. Like, I'm panicking for this guy right now.
Goodness gracious. It's just like, so for me, it's strange to just see a team like this that's completely neglecting the position. Like, even...
So what do you say to a coach who does this? What do you do? He's got to be on the hot seat, I assume.
I mean, there's no way he's not. I mean, there's no way he's not, because he started off honestly pretty hot and looked like he was going to potentially make a playoff run, but like he stopped winning games, and not only did he stop winning games, they weren't even close at the end. Like, they were just getting mollywopped, and then you just let your quarterback of the future walk.
He wasn't your quarterback of the future. He was your franchise quarterback. He was that guy.
It just, I can't wrap my head around it still, like, to just let the dude walk. I mean, it's just absolutely mental. Like, all right, we're going to see what the Chiefs do here, as this is their second round pick. They had a rough season. I do believe they finished 7-10 or 6-11, but it just wasn't up to their standards. They're going to solidify their defense with Cody Wooten, another Boston College defender, off the board here. Middle linebacker. I mean, I could see it. It's not necessarily been their strong point for their run, is their defense. But, I mean, at the same time, oh, and there goes Matt Byron. Matt Byron is selected by the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and the Chargers going to regret that one.
Chargers definitely gonna regret that one. Let's look at the Titans roster as we speak about this, because I feel like depending on how he comes in, I mean, he could easily be their starter. Let's look. Depth chart. I mean, they have Malik Willis as their only quarterback on the roster at a 65 overall. His speed has immensely regressed, actually, already. He's down to 89 speed. And stock, I want to say the man is a 94 speed quarterback. So for him to already be down to 89 speed, the dude's getting hit and just abused. He's already lost a step. So that's already huge to note for the Tennessee Titans, is they did kind of sit in the bottom of the league. They finished 29th in passing offense. I mean, they finished second in rushing. But that's just because Derrick Henry was a monster, and they let that man go.
Yeah, they lost their only offensive weapon, so it's going to be rough year in Tennessee.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a 4 or 5 year build for them. I mean, that's for certain. I don't see Matt Byron as being the immediate answer. He's definitely going to take some licks. But,
So I got some updates on the NCAA rankings that just came out for this upcoming season, if you guys are interested.
I was about to say, we got some preseason rankings. Let's go.
So I only have the user rankings, but coming out, the top user right now preseason ranking is Notre Dame, coming in ranked at number 3 in the nation.
Beautiful.
Followed by Auburn, ranked at number 7 in the nation. And then following out, the last user that is ranked is Arkansas, the defending 3-time national champ. Comes in at rank number 14. So
wow.
That's pretty disrespectful if you ask me, coming from the AP. I would think the 3-time national championship would kind of yield you at least the respect of getting the #1 ranking coming into the nation, coming into
I
the
mean,
season.
and this recruiting class is probably one of the best recruiting classes I've ever seen coming out of high school. These guys that are fast off the block. Want to say our fastest guy runs a 4.30, and is a running back. So definitely is going to be a fast-paced college in the next couple of years. These guys are running at the block, so something to look out for.
All right, that's great to be here, and especially as one of these coaches, being able to recruit these kind of caliber of players when we've been lacking speed for as many years as we have, is definitely nice to hear. I think that's the only reason we've lost a few games that we have outside of the injuries that we dealt with in year 2, as we did lose Tyler Buckner with a broken ankle in the second week of the season. Um, spot starter Steve Angeli had to come in, and he just didn't have the arm nor the accuracy to lead us to the type of offensive production that we're used to seeing. I mean, he committed a lot of turnovers and just was not reliable through the air. So, I mean, we lost a couple games there, but I think the lack of speed is just the causation.
It's definitely going to be an interesting year. I mean, definitely with just the user teams we got, 3 of the 10 guys we got in here has their returning quarterback. Definitely the biggest issue I just kind of saw looking through stats. Auburn, just brought in a huge, amazing offensive line, all great upgrades, and coming in with a new quarterback is going to be very interesting, kind of seeing how they progress on next year. And Notre Dame's biggest issue was their lack of offensive line help. Their quarterback got sacked 28 times this past year. So something to kind of want to look at going into this upcoming season, especially with Arkansas State moving into the Big 12. Could be a very, very heavy recruiting season.
Moving into the Big 12 is huge for them. And speaking of Notre Dame, one of their best pass catchers in team history, not tops, but one of our best, Lorenzo Styles, is off the board to the Arizona Cardinals. I believe they're adding a pretty strong weapon there. Looking at that man, let's get his draft profile pulled up. Give me just a moment to get his
He might have been a
statistics
late
up.
addition to the class. He may not have a profile.
That is also fair. But I mean, at the end of the day, the dude had a fantastic career for Notre Dame, racking up, a good 15, 16 career touchdowns through the air, over 1,000 yards receiving career. When you're not and another quarterback is off the board, I'll cut myself off right there. Chris Angler, quarterback out of Virginia Tech, is going to go to the Miami Dolphins here midway through the second round at pick 19. And the panic has got to be setting in for San Diego. Los Angeles Chargers fans, is now 5 quarterbacks now are off the board. And another fantastic player is now off the board. Rocket Sanders,
Wow.
halfback
That
out
is
of
a huge
Arkansas, goes to the Baltimore Ravens. And that one, as a division member of the AFC North, that one startles me quite a bit. This player was absolutely massive out of Arkansas. The guy racked up over 3,000 career rushing yards, almost 70 touchdowns at minimum. I want to say, like, through the air and on the ground, he almost hit like 80. But the guy was an absolute weapon, and he is part of the main reason why this Arkansas Razorbacks team won 3 straight national championships. And we also did just see another quarterback go off the board. I did not completely catch his name, but Chargers fans, I'm so sorry.
Oh no. Oh no.
We've already had 5 or 6 quarterbacks go off the board. We're not even out of the second round, so you're definitely starting to see some reaching with the quarterback prospects. And just to humor the situation, y'all, let us see what we're working with in terms of the quarterbacks remaining here. We do have, a decent prospect still on the board. I do come off biased here, but that is Tyler Buckner, quarterback out of Notre Dame.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Will Rogers.
Will Rogers is not a bust, but Will Rogers is still a caliber prospect. He is a day 3 projection. But Tyler Buckner here in the 3rd round, I am curious to see where he does wind up going. The man is a mobile threat, very agile, and definitely able to make the first man miss. But his arm strength, his accuracy, it's average at best. And I'll be completely honest there. There's a reason he was sat in favor of the transfer sophomore Walker Howard this past season. Yes, he could run the read option offense much better, but I'm looking for a more pro-style offense from my offense, and we just couldn't be having that. Starting to see another run on offensive linemen.
I see the Bears are trying to fortify that line and protect Justin Fields because
I'm loving it, honestly. WarEagle once again is Keontae Scott, cornerback out of Auburn, is selected by the Green Bay Packers, and that once again will put our user Pittsburgh Steelers on the board with the 27th pick in the 2nd round. They've already gotten, and I hate to say it, but we didn't finish announcing that massive trade. The Steelers have acquired quarterback Bryce Young from the Chicago Bears in exchange for their 2nd round pick this current season. And I believe, what was the rest of the trade? I'm sorry, my screen is frozen, y'all.
I'm getting it pulled up now. No worries.
Thank you. Approved trades. They sent their current 2nd round pick, 2 current 2nd round picks, the 3rd and the 27th. So the Chicago Bears did just, in fact, select middle linebacker Tim Callahan out of Eastern Carolina. So as they continue to solidify the trenches on the front end, they are continuing to build themselves a defense. As while they were explosive on offense, they did have some holes on that unit last season, and it was definitely easy to see that when the Browns matched up. Nick Chubb had himself one hell of a day and was able to gain, I believe, almost 200 yards against the man. But, I think he's looking to stop that. And again, this puts the Niners on the clock, and I believe they made
the Bears take a linebacker, and could this be the replacement to Roquan Smith?
Maybe they could be changed into a 3-4, giving him some help. I don't know, but it's really interesting to try to get in the minds of these coaches, and that's why you're kind of hearing some of this silence. Is some of these picks definitely are baffling. Some of them are fantastic. But this trade action has been incredible so far this draft, and we're not even out of the 2nd round.
It's a boomer phone, and Twitch chat is asking, who did the Ravens take? I'm pretty sure you took a wide receiver 1st round. I'm not positive about the 2nd round.
I don't remember who they took in the 1st round, actually.
Yeah, it was a wide receiver, but I don't know who it was.
Oh my goodness, but the Niners are coming down to it again, taking their time on their picks to make sure that they get the right prospect, and will they get the right prospect this time? Jose Dobbins, strong safety out of the University of Alabama, is who the San Francisco 49ers pick, and grand scheme of things, not a bad position to pick up and fortify. I know their defense was not the best in the league last year, but...
And I'm back up again, so let's see who we got.
We got the Panthers back on the board, and that's a big one here, too. Continuing to build on a successful class.
It's kind of frustrating to see a team like the Panthers do every single thing well, and then to see the Chargers, it's baffling to me how inept that team is handling the quarterback situation right now.
No, 100%. It just, for
And
me,
not to beat a
it's
dead horse, but
frustrating.
that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm beating a dead horse. I mean, this is beyond like. I think this is something like league management might have to look into if it continues.
Yeah, it seems like the GM is just completely neglecting this roster at the moment, and you definitely don't want to see this team fall into disrepair. I mean, we saw that in the NCAA league. The initial head coach for the University of Alabama just was not recruiting. He was more focused on on-field success, but you can't have on-field success without recruits. Alex Preston, right end out of Louisville, is off the board to the Panthers as they look to get themselves a nice new pass rusher there. Definitely good to see for them.
So yeah, we definitely wanted to get something going on the right side of the field
Yeah,
because we have.
Zabumaphone, I know you did miss that, and I know you're trying to see who your pick was. So Rocket Sanders was a running back out of the University of Arkansas and was part of Pig Suey's back-to-back-to-back national title teams. He did finish his career at Arkansas as a 99 overall in college with some absolutely ridiculous stats. I do believe he finished about 3,600 rushing yards and over 1,000 yards receiving with close to 80 touchdowns in his 3 years starting. So the
And
dude
kind
is
of
an
want to
absolute
touch on
stud.
him since I definitely had to face his wrath in a national championship this last season.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
a hard one to bring down. At the one play, he broke 5 tackles for a 70-yard touchdown. So
Oh my God.
definitely a force to be reckoned with. Definitely moving to the NFL. So sucks to see him drop that far. He probably should have been a top 5 pick, but definitely gonna be a force to be reckoned with going into
Trust me,
NFL.
facing the guy in the SEC championship was no cakewalk either. I mean, we we fared a little bit better stopping him, but we had a little bit of experience on how to stop a potent rushing attack like that, having faced him already once before in a title game, as well as Notre Dame earlier in the season. So we were fortunate enough to slow him down. He did not hit 100 yards rushing in that game, but it also had to do with the fact that he suffered some kind of calf injury early on and, missed 2 quarters. But
Yeah, and Pig brings up.
definitely,
Go ahead.
I couldn't see the comments. I don't know what point he brought up.
Oh, he said I got him in the first natty too, and I was like, yeah, no. And what was even worse is that was a younger, not as completely developed Rocket Sanders, and he's still 8. And I had a very good defense that season. We still almost gave up 200 on the ground to that Razorback team, and we were giving up less than 100 a game to everybody else. So, the man's a problem. Now you give him Lamar Jackson, that's going to be a explosive rushing attack up in Baltimore.
Yes, it is. That's a problem for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you
Mm-hmm.
thought you didn't have to see Rocket Sanders anymore.
Mm. Yeah, but now he gets to meet Myles Garrett. So you know what? We also did solidify the trenches as well, picking up a couple of free agents. We have a nice little defensive tackle and an 83 overall D tackle to go with our boy Jordan Elliott, as he's honestly starting to make a significant impact on the line. So I think if we can cover the trenches, we're not going to have to worry about Rocket like that, but still definitely not a man to sleep at. The Raiders also selected a running back, Aaron Shields, out of Kansas. Kansas has been respectable the last season or so. So, got to check. Maybe the caliber of talent they're putting out is getting better. Excited to see what he does in Las Vegas. Second round about to end, though. Cowboys back on the clock, and the clock is ticking on them just a little bit. At some point, we do want to bring them in and talk to them about their season. Gonna have to get in touch with our Cowboys user and see when and if he is ready. Excuse me, I'm trying to get a bite to eat in here, so try not to chew too loud on stream. And Marcus Rice, tight end, Oklahoma State, is going to be the pick there. And the third round begins. I think that's a fantastic pick for him. Get a young skill position player, develop him a few years, and just have him out ready to go in the next couple as your starter. But could be a good depth move for him too. I mean, the team is just utterly stacked. Now Houston back on the board here, and I mean they've had a pretty excellent draft so far in the grand scheme of things. Curious to see how they keep building on it. We do have a fair bit of talent left on this board. If we do go down a little bit, we'll take a look at the big board here, and we still do have some first and second round talent on this board. There's definitely caliber players left to be taken. I mean, I'll be a little biased here. Cornerback Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. Definitely going to be a good choice for somebody. All right, sounds good, Zaboomaphone. Thank you for tuning in to the stream. I hope you have a good rest of your night. We still have Audric Estime on the board. I think he's going to be another good back. Jalen Wright out of Tennessee, also going to be a fantastic back, as his numbers out of college were fantastic. And we still do have some offensive linemen, though. Right guard Brandon Bullard is falling down the board quicker than I've ever seen. He's dropped 93 spots so far from his initial projections. And poor
Mitch Hazelton out of Florida International.
Poor Los
Chargers
Angeles.
fans are covering their eyes.
My God. I just don't even have
I'm a
words
little bit
now.
surprised about that pick for the Texans, because I'm not sure why would they take a quarterback in the, was it third round now? I'm not sure.
It's always good to have a backup.
I mean, it
I mean,
always
yeah,
is. I mean, that's absolutely
you
for
could find
sure.
somebody in the free agency, you know. I wouldn't waste a third round pick on, or like a really late round pick. But
What's crazy is they snuck past two quarterbacks that are ranked above them. That's where it becomes questionable. You still had Buckner and you still had Rodgers on the board. So I'm not sure what they were looking at, but again, the Steelers are on the clock, and I think this will be their actual, first pick since the first round. They did definitely trade away their 2 second-round picks for Bryce, and we get Jalen Wright, Tennessee, going to be their new running back, as rumors circulate that he is looking to trade away Najee Harris, and I think this could be the move that secures it. Dadgummit pig. Landon Jackson, I don't know if he's been snagged yet. I will give you that answer. What position was I looking for again, pig? So I'm curious to see what the Seahawks do continue to take, because they've been pretty aggressive in this draft as well. The first round pick going to quarterback, and they've been very aggressive in building as well. Let's take a look here. See if Landon Jackson is still on the board. And I do believe he's been snagged, if we're being honest. So I may have missed his picking, but Landon Jackson has been secured by somebody in this league. And whoever got him got a fantastic left end. That dude had a phenomenal career.
Oh, he's a beast.
Seattle Seahawks select my boy Cam Hart, cornerback out of Notre Dame, as the Irish continue to have a wonderful draft day, sending as many players to the league as they are. Cam Hart, not the best hands. He's not going to intercept many passes, but he is good at deflecting them. He is good at swatting passes, and he's not going to let you catch the ball on him. So nice to see Seattle get a quality player there. Lindsey Cox, right end out of Oklahoma, are going to be next. Going to the Washington Commanders now. Oh, goodness. From the Arkansas coach, he's saying he was a dog, but I restocked with 380 overall defensive ends. And another Notre Dame player going off the board, this time to the Detroit Lions. Audric Estime, finished with about 3,300 career rushing yards for the Irish, and, about 40 touchdowns. He had himself quite a career, and now the picks are flying as we're getting later into this draft. And we do see Chaz Gordon, right outside linebacker out of UGA, is next to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which now puts the Indianapolis Colts back on the board. How do you think their draft's going so far?
Oh, it's gone as well as you could possibly hope, with the exception of still, I think, Garner was a necessity pick, but he was not a. I don't know how you want to put it. He was not a.
He wasn't
He
who
was
they
not the
wanted.
safe pick.
Yeah.
No, everybody was going for Buck Minich, and you won the lottery on that one.
I mean, the amount of hoops I had to jump through in terms of negotiating with every team's front office involved in those trades was ludicrous.
Oh, it was fiendish.
Oh, it was insane. And I'll be honest, normally as a head coach, I am not a very aggressive trader.
Eric Riley out of Buffalo.
Oh.
That's a good pick right there. That is a rising tight end in the league, and he will be a household name by the time everything's said and done.
And honestly,
the man's he's already a mauler, and he's only been getting better at running routes.
I'm excited to see him continue with the same coach that he's been working with at the University of Buffalo, though, as well. I think that's going to be a really cool story to follow in this league as time goes on.
100% it will.
Definitely excited to see how that kid develops. James Hahn, tight end out of Ohio State, next going to Buffalo. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Pig. It's so dope that he got his guy from Buffalo. Like, that is genuinely like the most wholesome pick because the dude kind of ate, and I think once he got his depth chart figured out and he had his proper skill positions on the field in the right positions, he, his guys really started to shine through, and I think in the league he's going to do great things. He's got a great work ethic and a great drive, to make yourself known out of a small school like the University of Buffalo. That's massive. And we're all going to hold our breath here for the final 30 seconds of this draft pick because if this team doesn't take a quarterback, please take a quarterback.
Yeah, I was
Please.
about to say, do we think they're going to take a quarterback this time?
Oh, my God. They have to. They had to take one
Like, if I do not see Tyler Buckner or Will Rogers, or Will Rogers go off this draft board right now.
Will Rogers, give them 2 quarterbacks right now. Just take one. Take both. Just put a quarterback on the roster.
In the words of, it's like almost like Portlandia, like put a bird on it, put a QB on it,
receiver.
Put a QB on it.
Wide receiver.
Oh my God!
Exactly.
God.
Wow, he doesn't go quarterback again. Wow.
We've got a problem. Herbert walked in free agency, bro. He didn't re-sign him, and Herbert's now on Carolina, signed to like a $280 million deal. So Herbert ain't available. He doesn't even have a quarterback on his roster, Pig. He literally doesn't have a quarterback on his roster, and now we're looking at like 7 quarterbacks have gone off this draft board. Like, again, to reiterate, these are the remaining quarterbacks in this here NFL draft, and the pickings are slim. The pickings are slim, and the pickings ain't good.
I'm putting him in the discussion tab.
I mean, it's fine. Let's not talk about that on stream, though.
Maybe
I'm letting you know I'm opening it up.
Okay.
Maybe a tactic some GMs could use, especially with him not having a quarterback, is taking a quarterback out of his draft and using that as trade clauses to get a better player for their roster, especially since he needs a quartaback. So
yeah, I mean,
he's
really
gonna
have
get
to
himself
sign.
In a hole.
He's got to sign two.
They don't even want to run a quarterback.
I mean, this is just crazy to me. Just to see this dude absolutely walk away with no quarterback talent. I mean, Tyler Buckner's not going to be your answer long term. Neither's Will Rogers. I think they need time to develop immediately, or you're going to lose some games. But right now, it's like you don't have the luxury anymore. You need this position. Like you are desperately in trouble. As we see Enrique Shirley, right outside linebacker out of a university that doesn't even have a football team anymore, the University of Maine. Because
Don't tell them that. They've got heart.
They don't have a football team. Like, they literally do not have a football program.
But they have heart.
Clint Andrews, tight end out of Florida, is going to go next off the board as Miami continues to build their offense back up. As they did take a quarterback, I believe, a round ago, or their last pick. So, I mean, Miami's looking to reinvent their offense maybe a little bit this season, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the long term. We have the Bills back on the clock again. new league user. Curious to see how he's going to try to build this roster in the long term. God, I'm stressing my computer out so bad with this. But, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see. It does not look like he's drafting, but we will wait it out in terms of not glitching the draft because, of course, with EA, this is a entirely possible thing. But we're down to the final 20 seconds of the Bills on the clock. And I mean, we have quite a few good prospects left. I mean, I'm definitely expecting to see a couple of second round prospects drop pretty far, just based on lack of need. And Brandon Bullard, that was the last one I was expecting to see. He had dropped a mile, but, initial first round grades, he's not where he wants to be mid-third round as he goes to Buffalo. And Kendrick Freeman, the next pick off the board, goes to Denver, cornerback out of LSU. LSU puts out some quality defensive backs. I'd be expecting to see him make an impact in a year or two. I think that's going to be huge for them. But Texans are back on the board. We're definitely looking to see here what the Falcons are doing coming up, the Eagles, the Lions, the Ravens. We have a lot of important picks coming up as these are still potential starters you're finding at these positions here.
News just come in. Chargers front office after that last pick has decided to terminate the contract of their head coach.
They have fired their head coach?
Yep.
Understood.
So, real quick, while we're waiting on picks to come in, just look at some things going forward. Let's look at some scheduling going in. So the Cardinals open week 1 at the Dolphins, followed by the Jets, the Vikings, Seahawks, Patriots, Seahawks again in 2 out of 3 weeks. Packers, 49ers, Rams, Lions, Broncos, Falcons. That's going to be a big one, week 13.
Oh, yeah, that is a thing, huh? Let's see what we're working with. Oof. This is not a nice schedule for me this year. Oh, week 13 for me as well. Huge.
Very big game.
This is going to be an interesting season. That's for damn sure. I definitely see 10 or 11 wins for these Browns, but where they come from, I'm not sure yet. All right, let's get us back to the main screen here. Braxton Patrick, running back out of Nebraska, goes. And then Marcus Aldridge, right guard out of Texas, goes to the Falcons. So, interestingly enough, the Falcons are continuing to expand and build their offense. DeAndre Buchanan. How many tight ends is Florida putting in this draft?
I think Florida just bred tight ends this year, man.
Bro, they spawning them down there. Like, the hell's going on? I mean, at that point, it's like, yeah, I think that's like the third or fourth tight end I've seen them like put out this season. But we continue to see the Ravens making some nice picks. Devin Tucker out of Boise State goes next, free safety. And then we see another WarEagle get out of here. It goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Picks are flying now. Holy smokes. Jags pick up a lineman again out of Michigan. Michigan's whole offensive line must have graduated this year. Jesus.
And Minish's guys are going pro.
Yeah, no kidding.
Gonna see who made who.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I mean, let's just be honest here. Minich isn't being thrown into a terrible offensive line whatsoever. I mean,
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
The beauty of trading up to get that first overall pick is he's not coming into a bad position or a bad situation.
What I meant to ask you is setup.
Yes,
Now that you
absolutely.
have Buck, will you turn to a pass first offense, or will you stay in your
I
kind
think
of down the middle
being
offense?
pro style is still kind of going to be beneficial. I think having a quarterback that is stable enough to throw the ball is great, and it's going to make people have to think: am I going to stack the box to stop Nick Chubb, or am I going to respect the pass? And whatever you take, I'm going to take it. Not
So you still
having
think the
a
Cleveland
question.
Browns playbook scheme is going to do it for you? Or
I mean, I was running in the Tampa Bay.
are you running Tampa Bay? Oh, that's pretty much perfect for Buck then.
Well, it's fantastic. There's definitely there's definitely a long-term plan for this team, and year 1 and 2 I don't expect to win, but year 3 I expect to be in serious contention, and that puts me back on the clock as Carlos Spadell, free safety out of the University of Louisiana Monroe, is going to be the pick for the Chicago Bears. And with all of the Notre Dame players, all of my guys getting off the board, it does kind of give me a little less bias to look at as I'm trying to select the player that I need for need. As now we have taken a couple of great players. Oh, Lord of mercy. That is terrible.
Oof.
Maybe we're not doing that. Panic, panic, panic. I can't panic there. The Browns are going to select running back Jarquez Hunter out of the University of Auburn.
That's an interesting pick. I wasn't expecting a running back.
You know what? I kind of panicked at the end there, and I'll be completely honest with you. It'd be nice to have a nice power back behind Chubb to give him some breaks, especially in days where Felton's size and it's just not gonna work.
One thing that's not always looked at Jarquez Hunter is his lethality in the pass game. He is a fantastic back out of the backfield. Did a lot of time at wide receiver for Auburn, too.
Oh, wow. I am just catching that right now. A catch in traffic, A to C catching. His route running is, what you'd expect for a running back, but, it's not completely dog
Baby
shit.
hands.
Yeah, but, going to do well. Walter Herbert goes to the New England Patriots here, strong safety out of Oregon State, which then again will put the Niners back on the clock, and we're starting to get really into the thick of this draft as potential starters are few and far in between at this point. Curious to see if we see some gems come out of here. What is your problem, buddy? But you know what? If we do have some time, I'm going to reach out to our betting expert, see if he wants to hop on here in a moment.
Are we finally getting Cowboys Coach Wood on there?
I think we want to get our gambling expert on first, as he does have limited time today, and I want to make sure that he can get us our futures for the Madden League upcoming season. That way you guys can get your bets in on the season with our Discord currency. It's Deontay Joseph comes off the board now for the Niners defensive tackle out of the University of Indiana. That school was awful this last year. Hopefully they...
with Chargers upper management taking over picks, I'm curious to see what quarterback they're going to take next.
I mean, at this point, it's got to be Buckner or Rodgers, and that's assuming one of these teams doesn't fill a need themselves. I mean, shit. I've still got Kellen Mond. He's not a viable backup.
I mean, he's a very viable backup if you ask me, but
He was airmailing passes worse than Deshaun during that losing streak. So like, I don't trust him, but I could very well see myself going to scoop him up if the Chargers don't make that move. Go get me a little backup ski. Jeremy Gray out of Ohio State. Gonna go to the Panthers. I think that's a fantastic pick there. Ohio State, as much as I cannot stand that school, just consistently puts out talent outside of the quarterback position. Though Justin Fields is starting to change that. Mentality. Apparently, Jared Goff is in free agency. I have just been informed. So, I mean, it is entirely possible he can pick up a quarterback, but I don't know. Curious to see now what the Bengals do here as they do continue to build on their AFC Championship run that they made last year. I mean, definitely, again, a fantastic offense. Their defense at times, their front seven is just menacing. So I am curious to see what becomes of that this upcoming season. And welcome into the stream, Papa Rod. Nice to see you here again. Wood to Goated. I see you in the stream. Are you gonna be free soon? Alright, give me 1 second. Trying to get with our guests real quick to just make sure that they are about ready for us. All right, and the Cincinnati Bengals did make their pick, and it is going to be Martin Boley, linebacker out of Washington, middle linebacker specifically. And I believe, give me a moment. 1 moment, please. We're going to be right back as we get ready for this next segment to bring in our coach, our Super Bowl winning coach. And welcome back to the stream and podcast, guys. We're going to be bringing in our Super Bowl winning head coach this year, Wood to Goated. Welcome in, Coach. How you doing today? Okay, glad to have you here. Yeah, I'm feeling it too, man. I am really excited about how this has been going so far, and I am really excited to see. Oh, and by the way, the Houston Texans just selected Michael Carmody, left guard out of Notre Dame, another one of their fantastic offensive linemen from this season. But, Coach, how are you feeling like this draft is going for you so far? Are you getting the players that you wanted? Okay, Coach, they can't hear you. Can you make sure that your audio sharing settings are fixed? Chat, can you let me know if you can hear Coach? If you can't, keep letting me know until we get this fixed.
He probably has to go into the party settings.
He's
Yeah,
very
go to the party settings.
quiet, so he's just very quiet. Oh,
Is he
really?
quiet or can he? Yeah, you have to go.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So they can hear you. They can hear you just very quiet. But we're gonna see Steve Thomas, another Michigan offensive lineman, off the board this time to Pittsburgh. As man, Buck Minich and his team are leaving that Michigan Wolverines program barren. Is the way it's looking right now. Like, that's just crazy. Chat, can we hear can we hear Coach now? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Not really at all. That's strange. Let me change a setting on my end. Give me just a moment. I'll just change the setting on my end. If you can hear them, let me know. I do want to make sure this interview is, audible. Definitely want to make sure this coach can be heard. Yeah, I was gonna say you don't want to blow our eardrums out. I mean, I get it, but I mean, if it's what we need for the interview to work in the meantime, it's definitely appreciated. It could be you don't share your party audio, and that could also be what's going on right now. But
Yeah, go
yeah,
to your voice chat settings and then go to like the three dots and go to voice chat. It's just like voice chat settings, then
we're
go to
gonna
share
send it
voice.
back to a Be Right Back screen while we get this sorted out. We just want to make sure you guys can actually hear this interview. We'll be back in a couple minutes once we get this resolved. Thanks for your patience, y'all. Now. All right, and we're back. I think we got the situation resolved. Can you guys hear Coach? Try speaking now, Coach Wood. All right, it sounds good. Yeah, I was gonna say you probably maxed it out, and then the party audio sharing was probably just not going through anyway, so that should probably resolve it. Praying it resolves it. A little bit better. All right, we'll roll with a little bit better. That's fine with me. Well, welcome in, Coach, and congratulations on your Super Bowl win, 31 to 10. In that victory. I believe you beat the Las Vegas Raiders. They definitely seemed overmatched in that game. Can you tell us what your game plan was going in?
stuck to the plan that we did all year. Just hit the ball, all around. Got the ball to where it was open. The run game wasn't really as strong as my run game was in my previous, Madden years. I think only maybe you and I think maybe the Cardinals, a couple other people know how my run game really was.
Trust, we remember.
My passing game that really got me this season, even though that started out kind of bumpy because we haven't played simulation in a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a little story. I mean, a little rough bounce back, getting back into the simulation and the DSRL style of gameplay.
No, and that makes sense too. I mean, it's definitely a change of pace, and we could definitely see we're going through some early growing pains, losing a couple games earlier that you probably normally wouldn't lose. But I mean, when it mattered though, it come playoff time, you lock in like usual, and you got the job done every single time. You beat your opponents squarely, and then you get to the Super Bowl, and it's a smoke show. So I mean, definitely kind of looks like your Super Bowls are old as well, which, I mean, even if these other members weren't here at the time, this is your fourth Super Bowl with our league. So, I mean, definitely our leader in terms of championships here as we see Darnell Adkins go to the Los Angeles Chargers, as I've yet to see them still take a quarterback. But Coach, they weren't able to hear your answers earlier. How are you feeling about your draft class so far? As we've now seen you get 3 picks off the board in the first, second, and third rounds, and they seemed like some quality players. You don't seem to have many holes on your team. Were you just kind of picking best available, or were there specific needs that you are going after this season?
I was only really needing in one area. It was the left guard position, but I kind of held it off because I didn't really see that too many people really needed left guard.
Right.
There's a couple in there that I could have picked from, so I kind of just got some other picks out the way first before I went to there. But I was really only looking at, besides the left guard, the Falcons took the corner that I really wanted to get. We really had our eyes, really set for it, but really looking too far on the defensive side because we really didn't lose nobody as far as like starters.
Right.
I really just wanted to at least get just a couple backups. At least I did with the safety. I just said I pass on the corners and everywhere else. And the tight end I ended up getting, he has a hidden deal, so that's gonna be a good one for me.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he pans out.
Most definitely might be, coming in my 2 tight end package with Dalton Schultz. So he just might be a starting tight end for me.
That's going to be incredible to see. I believe that third round, tight end. So I mean, very, very curious to see how his career pans out for him. But Coach, what are your aspirations for next season outside of the obvious? You want to make a Super Bowl. Do you have any wins expectations that you'd like to set so far for us?
Yeah, we really want to go undefeated this season.
You're gonna go on the record going for that 17-0, huh?
That's really what we want this season. We really wanted it last season, but it was a bumpy start. So that's really what we're gonna try to lock in for this season, and most definitely try to go for that 17-0.
I'd love to see it.
A tough one with the Panthers for sure. I also got you this season.
Yeah, we got ourselves week 13.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough run, but we're gonna try to make it happen. We're definitely gonna try to get the run game a little better.
Yeah, if you can establish that run game, I really don't see you losing many games this year. I think the amount of talent you have on that roster really indicates what it can be for the NFC East and the other users that you're going to have to be dealing with. But Coach, it was a pleasure having you on. I'm going to let you get back to your draft room, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your draft day. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You guys take it easy.
Absolutely. Good luck next season. All right, and that's it for having Coach Wood on. It was a pleasure to have him on the program, talk about his draft picks, his season, and his goals for next year. You know, dude's a consistently talented user. Like I said, he gets to the playoffs, and it's just he hits a different level. You could beat him in the regular season, but once that playoff run comes around, like the dude's hungry. And you can definitely see it in how his playoff run went this year. I'm gonna check in and see if our NCAA national champion, our back-to-back-to-back champion, is available to hop in here for a few. I'd definitely like to get an interview with him, seeing as, again, he has won 3 straight national titles. And Will Rogers, the quarterback from Mississippi State, is off the board at the 4th round and 17th overall pick there. He's going to be going to the Arizona Cardinals, and I think in that situation, he's going to be in a really good developmental situation. I think the coach of the Cardinals, WarEagle, is a fantastic quarterback whisperer. I think he is going to do a great job getting this guy ready. I've seen him work with players like Carson Strong in other leagues prior, and that dude's a 59 overall, and he was able to make it competitive and win games. So if Will Rogers is at least that, I'd like to see what he does in this system. Coach, what are you thinking about him? Do you have a long-term plan for Will Rogers? Did we lose Coach Wheeler?
I'm sorry, I was muted. We don't take anybody with the expectation they're going to sit on the bench forever. He very much translates for a starter for us long term. It's just going to be a matter of, are we going to, how long is his process developing into a starter? Obviously, I'm sorry, you got to get a lot of things squared away past the line of scrimmage and deeper into the field of play, such as the middle and deep passes, and see if there's any mechanics things wise we can iron out to get that arm strength up and back to par.
Oh, absolutely, and I think with the right coaching, I think changing your technique and just making yourself open to perfecting your craft and doing things that you're uncomfortable with at the quarterback position, I think is in the best interest of him. I think this new system, while not the air raid he's used to, I think it fits a system that he's definitely familiar with. And we're going to take ourselves a 1 moment break here, and then we're going to get ourselves situated for our NCAA interview with Coach Pig Suey. Gives ourselves just 1 moment here, ladies and gentlemen. We will be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here, and we have Coach Pig Suey on the line, the back-to-back-to-back national championship coach at Arkansas. How you doing today, Coach?
We're doing really good. Excited to get this next season started.
Yeah, how would you evaluate your recruiting class this past year? I believe you did quite well, actually.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely par for the course. We've came in and recruited a top 5 class every year, so we're right where we need to be as far as keeping that talent uh, growing and progressing these kids in the program.
Absolutely. Now, with your quarterback last season, I can't really think of his name off the top of my head. He was a true freshman coming in, and I believe he exceeded expectations, at least in my opinion. I mean, he finished with the regular season in the conference championship game, 37, 38 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, and I mean, you led a really explosive offense. How do you expect him to grow this offseason?
Yeah, so coming into the year, I had Tyrone Lewis, who eventually ended up being our guy and taking us, where we needed to be. But he was actually in a quarterback battle very early on with a really fast kid, Josh Evans, who ended up moving to wide receiver this past year, and going to go ahead and redshirt him this year and develop him further. But yeah, I couldn't ask much more from Lewis as far as just giving him the reins, being a true freshman, and going into the SEC is one thing, and then going into the national championships a whole nother step. So, as far as expectations go, if we can just carry over that success we had last year into this year, I don't foresee any troubles with him at the reins.
Now, speaking of the SEC, we did have a massive coaching transition that took place there recently. We did have the retirement of Coach Nick Saban and the subsequent takeover of the Crimson Tide by Coach Dabo Sweeney. Now, you did lose to that Crimson Tide team last season, I believe, by a score of 38 to 27, and I believe that was your quarterback's only day where he just did not look himself. Are you specifically marking that calendar against Alabama this year? Do you have any specific hype up plans for that team? Are you guys using it as bulletin board material?
I mean, we're going to treat it like any given Saturday. Uh, seeing Dabo go over there, I really want to see him succeed and carry that program back to where they were. But we're just going to treat it like another day, and we're going to go play some football.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you definitely started to see the fall off of Nick Saban towards the end of that career there. I mean, they did go 8-5 last season, which, while successful for many programs, is far below the expectations of Alabama. And you could truly attribute it to Nick Saban's overall lack of recruiting his last few seasons. It seemed like he completely lost interest as you started to see a plethora of walk-on offensive linemen on that roster and starting. I mean, do you think Coach Saban just lost his love for the game, or what was going on there, Coach?
I don't think so at all. It's really hard to keep up with the NIL, and I think a lot of these, lower tier schools really jumped in terms of success with recruiting, and I think Nick Saban was a very old school guy, and I don't know where he stood with the NIL, but I certainly don't think it helped Alabama in recruiting by any means.
No, I can definitely agree with you on that one. It definitely odd to see them, just completely fall off the way they did. Definitely disappointing. But again, with Coach Dabo taking over, I mean, I don't think it's going to be very long before they turn it around, at least on the recruiting side of things. It might take a couple years, at least on the field, to see the Tide back where they were. But back to your program, at least, Coach. How are you seeing yourself shaking out in the SEC? We do have some teams that appear to be on the rise, especially in the East, as Tennessee turned in a decent recruiting class. You also have Mississippi State in the West, who's been putting in a lot of effort trying to get that program together as he took over midway through that season. How do you see yourself shaking out in the West, and how do you see the rest of the conference shaking out around you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely going to get tougher this year. We've got some teams in the West on the rise that have been down for the past couple years, but it's the SEC. It's any given Saturday that anyone can beat anyone. So if we can get to the championship again and win the West, I'll feel really good about it. But we got to take it one day at a time.
No, absolutely, and it definitely seems like that SEC is just, it's an absolute gauntlet. As I mean, you see Oklahoma join the conference, not even 2 seasons ago, and last year they finished with a 3-9 record, and were one of the worst programs in the nation all around. It proves to you that talent in that conference is just top to bottom, just above the rest. The Big Ten at this point can argue, they're just as talented as the SEC with programs like Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC, and UCLA. I'll stake in their claim on the national picture. But I'd be curious to see how you guys handle next year, especially with this developing rivalry you do have with the Auburn Tigers as they've changed to the other side of the conference on the East, and you've now faced them, I believe, 2 out of the last 3 years in the conference championship. So
Yeah, for sure. They've got a solid team, well coached. Be a pleasure to play them.
I'm excited to get this next
It's
season
always
going.
a headache.
Well, when you have 2 of the best teams in the conference, I mean, it really is the epitome of any given Saturday. I mean, it in that conference as it stands, it always is. But you two are just above the rest right now. But Coach, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Look forward to having you on next season. Check in and see how your program's doing.
For sure.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
But we're going to get back to the draft now, as we're now very late in that 4th round. We saw Carolina Panthers did just select a right outside linebacker out of the University of Washington. Definitely looks like they're kind of starting to take best available, unless I'm missing something here, Coach.
Nope.
Goodness, and we're going to try to get our betting expert in here soon. I know he's working on getting schedules done for the NCAA League as we speak. But let me see if I can get him added in here. And then we can get that portion going, because I think as we're coming towards a close here, we'll start going through league schedules a little bit more in depth. And at that point, I think we're going to get ready to wrap up in the latter rounds of this, as we've been going for quite a bit, and I'm super enthusiastic that as many of you tuned in for this as you did. This has been a really fun time reestablishing this series here. All right, so he's already in the party, so let me reach out to him and let him know it's his late time. All right. But as we keep waiting on this final interview to come in, I apologize. We see Jermaine Clinton, free safety out of South Dakota, go off the board. One of the few FCS players that we've seen go in this draft. We saw another one go from a non-existent football program in Maine. But the final pick of the 4th round is on the board, and we are in the day 3 picks after that. And I think... do we have some gems back here, you think? You think there's going to be some players
we
that...
100% do.
Okay. I'm curious to see who comes off the board and who finds themselves an absolute stud here in these latter rounds. Dalton Mack, halfback from Kentucky, is going off the board to Dallas. As they guess look to get some more backups in there as we now hit the 5th round of this draft. I was going to say, at this point, I do believe Houston hasn't been picking. I could be wrong. It's been dropping down pretty low for him so far in this draft. But, while we're in these later picks, we can start taking a look at some of these league schedules. We'll go to regular season. We'll start alphabetically. We'll look at the Chicago Bears first, as they open week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings at home. and immediately follow it up with the Monday night game against the San Francisco 49ers, also at home. So they do have a rough couple of games they're going to be dealing with, as Deshaun Watson and Trey Lance will be their opposing quarterbacks, with what should be an explosive offense again from the Niners, and potentially, yeah, the Vikings may be a wild card here in the sense of we really don't know what we're going to be getting out of them. But, you know, I think he's been a consistent user in the past. So that should be a very good game. They then go to play their third straight home game against the Los Angeles Rams, and then we'll play 2 on the road, including 1 at the Seattle Seahawks with first-year quarterback Rajon Jackson. I think that's going to be a huge game to watch out for, with 2 young quarterbacks facing each other. They also play the Texans as we start highlighting. They play the Jaguars. The Lions should be a fantastic ball game as well. Coach Papa Rod does a very good job up there in Detroit, as he made them a competitive enough team to make the playoffs last season. They will be facing the Titans, who have put together a very decent draft class. They get the Colts in Week 14 with new look offense and new quarterback Holden Geriner. They face the Panthers in what should be a fantastic matchup, as now it will be featuring, I apologize, it'll be featuring Justin Herbert versus Justin Fields. You get the Cowboys versus the Bears in Week 17, and then the Vikings again to close out the season. They open and close against each other. Very interesting scheduling matchup there. Bears look like they can put together a decent run again. I mean, if Fields is going to continue improving, I mean, let's just be honest. I really don't see them losing more than 4 games. Bengals look like they are going to have a tough schedule as well, as they start the season against the Steelers, the Browns, and the Chiefs. May get a free win against the quarterbackless Chargers. Then they have the Panthers. They've got the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Giants, and the Raiders all in a row, followed by the Commanders, Jags, Ravens, Browns, and Patriots. This could actually be a tough year for Cincinnati. Realistically speaking, that's a lot of really good user competition that they're facing, both inside and out of the division. The Bills have a pretty favorable schedule early on in the season, as they face the Jets and the Rams to open the year. They get the Seahawks again, new look teams, so that could be a win depending on how Rajon Jackson's panning out early. They've got the Browns, Dolphins. They've got the Chiefs, Dolphins again. They've got the Colts, the Titans, Texans, Niners, Cardinals, and the Jets again. So again, the Bills could have kind of a rough year. I'm not even going to acknowledge the Broncos. And, all right, we're going to cut this short a second, as we did just get our betting expert, Mr. Humpy the Hunter, has officially entered the broadcast. How you doing, buddy? Besides sick, because I know you're not doing great with that.
No, I'm good right now. Yeah, I'm good right now. How's everybody?
We're doing pretty good, man. Just enjoying this podcast, enjoying how this draft is panning out. A couple teams are coming away pretty well.
Yeah. I was gonna kind of go over some sports betting for you guys. Something I'm passionate about, and something that I'm pretty good with. So
I was gonna say, I've seen you make a few bucks here and there.
I guess I'm gonna mainly start off with the real NFL draft here.
Okay.
If you guys want some picks.
Yeah, I would love that.
The main thing is, I saw a tweet today. I thought it was kind of crazy, but I saw a tweet today from one of the GMs, and he said that everyone's lying. Ain't nobody taking who they're saying they're taking, and I just thought that was crazy from a betting perspective, because anything can happen. But
no, I definitely agree.
So one non-expert draft I found. This guy, he did a mock draft based on Vegas odds and what they're projecting. Okay,
Okay.
and so some crazy things that he has is he has Las Vegas trading up with the Cardinals to get Stroud at 3. They, which a lot of development that I've seen and a lot of the market has seen just as today is Levis is going to go in that top 4, probably to the Colts, maybe get traded at. Somebody might trade up into 2 here to get Levis.
That's still crazy to
That's
me.
nuts.
Yeah. Tennessee's looks like a lot of the market is leaning towards Tennessee taking Richardson if he's there. Other than that, I mean, it's really up in the air at this point. But so I've went through all the lines, and a lot of things that I've kind of seen is I so a couple small bets I would make if I was in this situation would be uh, the Cardinals to take Tyree Wilson at plus 400 at pick number 3.
Okay.
My belief is Will Anderson's going to go number 2 to Houston, and if the Cardinals can't make a deal here, they're going to take the best defensive lineman they can get, and the safest pick they can get, which is Tyree Wilson, and
Okay.
that's going to be at plus 400. So, and then the other long odds I kind of see here is I truly believe the Chargers are taking a tight end, either Kincaid or Mayer. And
Okay.
that's at plus 300 right now. So those are kind of my long odds. But other than that, some other picks that you guys could make, or if you're listening, Bijan. I have Bijan under 12.5. He's been projected to go to the Eagles, which we did see that Derrick Henry might end up there.
Right.
But the Falcons are heavily projected to take him.
Ooh.
The Patriots could take him. I mean, the Bijan is the best running back that's come out since Saquon, and you don't really see running backs go this early because
I mean, it's such a risky
I
proposition.
like to refer to Todd Gurley and what happened to him. That is why NFL teams are so hesitant. But Bijan's the best running back that's come out since Saquon, so I think he's going to go within that top 12. He's even been projected to go to the Bears possibly at 12. So that's minus 102 right now.
Okay.
We can get one of my favorite picks right now is tight ends under 2.5 in the first round. The only other tight end that's in question that might go the first round is Georgia's tight end Darnell Washington.
Okay.
I don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening.
I've seen
Everything I've
mocks
seen
where
is
he goes undrafted.
he'll go in the second round, but your 2 tight ends that are going to go is Kincaid and Mayer, and it's going to be along the lines of Green Bay, Cincinnati, and the Chargers. Those are going to be your teams, and Dallas has been projected to maybe take a tight end here. But those are going to be your teams looking at the tight ends in the 20s here, the 18 to 20-ish range. So, but Darnell Washington's not going to go in the first round. This is a safe bet to me to take tight ends under 2.5 in the first round at minus 144, and that's pretty good value. Over 3.5 wide receivers round 1 is minus 115 over at FanDuel, and that's, to me, it's Addison, Johnson, Jackson Smith, and Zay Flowers. They're all 4 going to go first round in my opinion. There's not a world I see that all 4 of them don't go in the first round. And minus 115 is just crazy to me. And that's something I've already hammered.
Okay.
Couple other ones here. Giants' first pick to be a wide receiver. They've invested all this money into Jones. They're trying to get Saquon signed. They're trying to re-sign Lawrence, I believe. Dexter Lawrence. I mean, so I don't see them going any other route other than wide receiver in the first round, and that's plus 125. So you're getting plus odds there. And then the first tight end to be taken, Dalton Kincaid, plus 140. I love Mayer, but I think Kincaid has shown that he can have a higher ceiling as far as has his athleticism and making plays in the receiving game. So you can get Kincaid at plus 140. Mayer's actually minus 120 to go first, but I believe that Cincinnati offense is looking to take a playmaker like Kincaid at tight end.
Okay.
And then, other than that, I got another one too. I got Nolan Smith over 10.5. I have seen a couple mocks where he goes like right at 10, but the majority of mocks and the majority of rankings have him in the 20 range. I mean, so 10.5 is like that's just absurd to me. Other than maybe the one or two teams that is thinking about taking him in the top 10, and that's at minus 190. So it's not great value, but I think it's pretty much a smash
Yeah,
for
easy
that to
money,
happen.
regardless. Yeah.
And then other than that, what I'm passionate about is college basketball. We just ended on that, so I'll go ahead and throw out a couple futures for you guys. I know college basketball's a long way away, but I already have a future on Maryland. I mean, and that was back when it was 90-1. It's currently down to 30-1, and I wouldn't bet it at 30-1.
Right.
But I got it at 90-1. I mean, it's moved a ton since the transfer portal opened. The main news is where's Hunter Dickinson going to go? Is he going to go to Kansas? Is he going to go to Kentucky? Is he going to go to Villanova? Or is he going to go to Maryland? Either way, regardless, if Hunter Dickinson doesn't go to Maryland, Maryland is still going to be a team that's going to be in that top 15 and can make a run. And Kevin Willard he's put a credible team together and staff. He had 3 guys get head coaching jobs this year. I mean, but other than that, the other teams you look at Gonzaga, Kentucky, Duke, UConn. Those are your 4 favorites right now, all hanging around plus 1,000 to plus 1,400.
Okay.
Out of all those, Duke's gonna be good. They got Filipkowski coming back. UConn will be good, but I don't think they'll win it all again. And Kentucky's gonna be really young. They're also in that Hunter Dickinson market too. But Kentucky's going to be young. They'll probably make a surge later in the year. Kentucky would be a team I would look at taking live middle way through the season, because those young guys could drop some games, and Kentucky's line could move down in that plus 3,000 range, and that's where I would kind of look at taking Kentucky, but not at plus 1,400.
Right.
Same thing with Gonzaga. I mean, Gonzaga just can never finish. They can just never finish, and I think my belief is that it's always been because they play in the West Coast Conference. The only teams they really play is St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
San Francisco's kind of good here and there. Other than that, they play a good non-conference schedule, but then for the second half of the year, they play these non-conference walkovers. Or they play these conference walkovers, and they just lose their momentum, in my opinion.
Yeah, they soften up like throughout the course of the season,
Yeah,
and then it comes time
exactly.
for tournament, and they're playing these
So-
dudes who just beat each other up in the SEC all year.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's kind of where I'm at with college basketball right now. Maryland's the only future I've placed. I'm gonna look at placing a future on Michigan State. I think that Tom Izzo shows up in the postseason every year. He's getting pretty much every single guy back that he needs to be competitive this year. So Michigan State will be a team that I look to place a bet on at some point if I can get better odds on them. And then maybe Kentucky, like middle of the season, like I said. For NHL, I do have 2 futures going right now. I have Edmonton. I do think Edmonton will make it to the finals. If they end up against Boston, I will hedge out of it because Boston will win it all. But that's kind of my whole goal of betting that is Edmonton. If Edmonton can make it to the end, then I can hedge out of that pretty easily and profit at least $200-300 out of it.
Okay.
And then I have a future on the Dallas Stars too. That was mainly a free bet. Dallas finished the season really hot, probably one of the better teams in hockey behind Boston.
Right.
So that was more so just I got good value. I had a free bet to place, and Dallas was hot. So we'll see what happens with them. But other than that, I mean, we do have a big fight tonight. Gervonta Davis against Ryan Garcia. I don't know if we have any fight fans in here or listening, but This is probably going to be fight of the year. Two young kids going at it, undefeated. Devontae's got 26 knockouts, 28 wins, 28-0. He is the betting favorite, minus 230. I personally have a bet on Devontae to win by decision. I don't think he knocks Ryan out. Ryan's smart, Ryan's fast, but Ryan's inexperienced. Um, as long as he can stay on his feet, Gervonta should score enough points to win by decision, and I got that at plus 630. So I mean that's a pretty hefty payout if it does happen.
Oh
But
yeah.
I think Tank Davis will win this fight no matter what. Garcia is not going to knock him out.
Yeah,
He
we
just
got a
don't have the
comment in
power
the
to do
chat
it.
saying tank all the way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Tank should handle business tonight. He'll probably start slow, but Tank's the more experienced fighter, the heavier hitter. Garcia's longer and faster, but Tank should handle business tonight. So I got him for a decision tonight, plus 630. You can get him for a knockout around minus 120 over at FanDuel, which is good value for that as well if you want to see the knockout. Um, and then mainly the only other thing I have to talk about is I'm kind of starting to gear towards NCAA football, college football.
Absolutely.
And you know, me and Jose, we're right now the team we see the most value on is LSU at 18-1. I mean, you got Georgia at plus 200 to win it all next year. I'm not making a futures bet on as much. I'm a Georgia fan, and I will not place a futures bet at plus 200
Yeah.
to win the national title. There's just no way. There's no value whatsoever in doing that.
No.
LSU, they're going to be right in the mix. So 18-1 on them. Kind of a flyer for Heisman, in my opinion, is going to be Joe Milton out of Tennessee next year.
Really?
That Tennessee offense can put up numbers. Milton's got a cannon for an arm. You know, we'll see how he's progressed. I do think Nico will sit the whole year behind Milton. I think it's Milton's job for the whole year. And I do think Tennessee can make a run, as much as I hate to say it. But Milton to win the Heisman is he's kind of he's like the 6th or 7th favorite right now. I don't know his exact odds, but you can get a really good number on him. And Tennessee's offense puts up numbers, so he's going to be up there like statistically with Caleb. So other than that, that's kind of all I got. I'll have more draft analysis probably Monday, Tuesday. So
Absolutely.
because it's an ever-changing world every second. Levis went from plus 400 to minus 120 in a matter of 6 hours. So you just never know.
No, exactly.
It's all rumors. So wait and see the best line you can get. But other than that, only action I have currently going tonight would be Tank Davis to win against Ryan Garcia, and then I have futures on Edmonton and Dallas, so kind of watching the Stanley Cup to see what happens.
No, absolutely. And do you want to get into your Madden League futures? Because I'm sure the chat would love to hear where you're thinking they're gonna stand.
Let me pull this up real quick. I
Yeah,
have the spreadsheet right here.
I've got picks right now that I gotta make.
Okay, I got them pulled up right here. So I'm not a member of y'all's Madden League, but so I'm totally unbiased here. I'm looking at statistics, ratings, rankings from last year. Pretty much that's what I'm looking at. And to me, the team that stood out looking at everything was the 49ers. I think that they are the favorite to win it, even though they finished, I believe, 4th in the rankings. Statistically, they looked like the best team in my eyes. So, but not too far behind. I have the Eagles and Bengals tied at that number 2 spot at plus 600. The Cowboys at plus 700, and then that's kind of where we see some fall off. You got the Chiefs and the Ravens right there, plus 900, plus 1,000. But those are kind of my big 3 right there, from the 49ers down to the Ravens. Those are the teams I'm going to look at winning it all in the league. And you can kind of see that with the odds, because the odds drop after you get to the Ravens. It drops from plus 1,000 to plus 1,500 on the Bills. So that's kind of where my line is drawn. Those 6 teams are the teams that I think will be in contention when y'all get to the playoffs. and I think they have the best path to win their division or get that wild card spot to actually be in the playoffs.
I was gonna say, I know the Carolina Panthers were a little hurt there after their acquisition of Justin Herbert to be
So
down at the
yeah,
plus
so
three
see
thousand
that's
odds.
yeah. See, I actually did not see that. I had no idea about that.
It was a
So
super recent
after the
acquisition.
Yeah, so after, and this obviously isn't a live market that like DraftKings. This is just me making odds based off what I saw, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So if I see, I'll probably do a reevaluation after y'all's draft and after, the free agents are all signed and everything, and I'll probably update odds. But this is kind of where I stand at the moment from what I saw.
No, and I definitely
So.
think it's pretty good analysis too, because if you're looking at some of the teams, I mean, the Rams were one of the worst teams in the league last year by a lot. They had a pretty terrible offense. The Texans just were, filled with a lot of holes. The Saints user is new to Madden, so like his odds of winning anything right now are going to be slim to shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
130 to 20.
yeah, 71 to nothing. But like, no offense to Mans, I feel bad because I did him dirty like that.
I
But
And
don't.
I will say this. I had a really hard time gauging the Browns, your team. I don't. It's very up in the air what this Michigan quarterback's going to do for you, how he's going to play, how he's going to progress in the league. So I
yeah, I'm
have you at
curious
that
to see what his ratings
plus
are.
2,500 range. I could see that go down some, if the new QB um, struggles out the gate, dropping down to that plus 4,500 range maybe, and getting a live bet in on that. But we'll just have to see how he plays and develops in that system.
Absolutely. And that being said, I think we have a Discord currency system and people do have money. So I think I'd really like to do is start having these futures actually yield something for the league in terms of, you know, they can actually start gambling on it within the Discord because that way we're just going to need a
Yeah.
gambling manager. I mean, if you want to undertake that and be the
Oh
gambling
yeah.
czar,
Yeah, but
have you?
I'll definitely do that, and then I'll definitely mainly tomorrow, Monday are going to be the two really big days, and Tuesday for the actual NFL draft. So I'll be posting picks in the gambling thread or wherever if you guys want to bet on them. And then
Yeah,
you can also find them on my Action Net. I track all my bets on Action Network, so
I
you
think
can
I got to
download that, follow
reinstall.
me. Yeah,
Actually,
and then you can see all my bets there. I'm currently I just have a lot of futures at the moment. I'm not really, I used to be big into baseball, and I started hot for baseball for the year, but right now my main focus is on the draft and taking care of business there because I've profited every year in the draft pretty much.
yeah, I did shit. I profited with you guys a couple years ago in the draft because Penny Sewell. Um,
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
yeah, I was hype on that one.
Last year, the only thing I got screwed on was Pickett going before Willis. That was the only thing I missed on. Honest to God, I did not see that coming last year.
No, I didn't
But
either. I
other
really thought
than
Willis would
that,
go.
let alone Willis going in the second round to the Titans, I did not see that coming. But that just goes to show you that a lot of it can be smoke screens. You just never know what's actually going on behind the scenes.
100%.
So, and that's what I kind of try to dig through to see which teams are legit here and which teams are just throwing up shade, such as the Texans. Maybe my belief has been that the Texans have wanted Bryce from day one, right? And then I think that they kind of fell out of that whenever they showed their hand and said that it was Bryce or nobody. They didn't want CJ, and so the Panthers were like, well, then we're going to take Bryce, or you can trade up and get him.
Right.
So that's kind of what happened in that situation. And now the Texans are like, well, we won't take a quarterback. We'll wait till next year if you want to be like that. You know what I mean? And it's just, the Texans are set up where they can be successful, but I think that they have to get CJ Bryce or will this year, or next year they have to play like crap all year and then go and draft Caleb if he goes in the draft next year, which I'm assuming he does. So,
Oh, fair enough.
but that's kind of where I'm at, and I'll have more bets posted and more picks for you for the draft. That's my main focus right now. But everybody enjoy the fight tonight if you're gonna watch it, and pull for Tank by decision plus 630.
All right, let's hope you pull that win because that's some nice fucking odds there, bud. Thank you for being a part of the stream tonight, and thank you for always helping with the league, brother.
I'm gonna get these NCAA schedules done for everybody and let you all see them tonight. So
yeah, I'm excited to get this stream done so I can actually get my preseason recruiting done.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, talk to you later, brother. Thanks for being here. All right, and we're getting towards the end of this draft now. We're into the 6th round. Vikings are on the clock with the 6th pick to the 6th round, and we're just starting to move it on through at this point. As we're getting towards the end, and I think I'm really excited to see how Neon Sports rates these draft classes. Once we have that information available, we'll be able to post an article for you guys on the draft itself. But as we're starting to wind down, I'm going to take about a 5-minute break here. Just stick with us on the stream. I need to use the bathroom, get some more water, because I've been talking for about 3 hours without break. So we shall be right back. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Waiting for our screen to come back up. We are back and ready to keep going here. We do want to announce to those of you who are in the chat, as we do have a large amount of league users in this podcast at the moment, we do plan on going immediately to cut week for a couple of hours. So as soon as we get done with this draft, we're going to move on to this cut week. And at that point, make your cuts. Within an hour after that, we're going to be advancing. We will be putting ourselves in week 1 tonight. And at that point, we will go on the 48-hour advances just because this has been a long off season already. I want to make sure you guys can start getting games in and getting everything going. We'll make sure injuries are off for preseason to make sure nothing catastrophic happens. Coach already did it. So we're looking good there. And I appreciate everybody who has tuned in so far. This has been a wildly successful podcast. I do enjoy having you guys here. I'm going to upload the archive to YouTube after this finishes up, so you guys can go back and look upon the draft and everything about it. But I honestly think once we get to round 7, I would be for sending it the rest of the way. But
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But again, thanks again to everybody who has been here. You know, this is our first time back, and we look to keep doing this. This is a new format for my stream setup as well. Shout out to Lightstream for being available. If you're a console streamer and you don't have the ability to throw up all these overlays and cool stuff on your stream, this is an option. They offer 2 packages. I think one's $20 a month, one's $8.99 a month, and it allows you to have these cool overlays through a third-party system on your laptop or whatever you're using to make it work. And it's really cool. I've been enjoying it a bit, and I think it's worth the money. You know, if you want to spice up your game streams, you know, this might be how to do it. Get more people in, make it a little more interactive. But we see Von Richards go to the Eagles, another left tackle gone off the board. I can't even keep track of how many left tackles specifically have gone today. That's probably the most popular position that's been gone.
I mean, honestly, do we want to go ahead and just send it?
I mean, at this point, I'm kind of tuckered out. I think there's not really much for us to say at this point. I'd like to get us the information for this draft up and available to the rest of the league.
Three.
All right.
2.
And we're going to sim to the end of the draft.
1.
And we will have to you our draft classes momentarily, y'all. All right. It's time to see what Buck Minich wound up being, because I know a bunch of you are curious. I'm fucking curious. Buck Minich is a 79 overall, so he is instantly an improvement over to Sean Watson. Let's take a look at him overall. Finding out what he was on the stream, we know he is a superstar development player behind that fog of war. He's got fantastic accuracy. His traits are fantastic. Oh my god, that 87 break sack is just sexy. Obviously not going to really be impressive on the running side, but right now this looks like a fantastic quarterback. Alonzo Richardson, the safety, also winds up being a really good pickup at 75 overall with the hidden dev trait as well. Jarquez Hunter, a 71. Not a single player drafted under 65 for the Browns in this draft, which I'd like to say is a giant W. Look at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers had an absolutely awful draft. Their best player drafted a 74. Cardinals looked all right, as Joe Alt is a 79 overall starting left tackle. Lorenzo Styles comes in at a 70.
He actually gets a confidence boost in my scheme. He's a 80.
That's beautiful. Will Rogers comes in at a 62 with James Allison and Taylor Skinner, 64 and 63. We're looking at the Chargers and
no quarterback.
No quarterback, but what's decent is the positions around them, you know, not horrendous. They get some speed from the wide receiver and the cornerback. Nothing explosive, but enough speed to survive. The Chiefs look okay. One of the worst classes I've seen so far. Holden Garner comes in at 71 overall for the Indianapolis Colts.
Don't send yet till I invite everybody.
Yeah, of course. Looking at the Colts, they honestly, like, whereas their top player wasn't great, the average of their players drafted, fantastic.
Uh,
Commanders looking okay as they draft a 77 overall free safety. Cowboys look okay. Nothing super impressive. Dolphins again, pretty decent. Eagles come out with a fantastic first round, or first 3 picks, as they get a 75, 73, 73 in the first 2 rounds. They managed to pull a 75 overall wide receiver in the 5th. So that's a huge pickup for the Eagles as they continue to build an absolute monster of a team. The Falcons did well as Joseph Fant, the cornerback out of Illinois, yielded them a 77 overall, cornerback with 94 speed. So very good pickup there. What am I hearing?
I was fucking with some ratchets.
Okay, well, we're still live, so.
Oh, okay. They can hear the ratchets too.
No, I don't want to hear them. The Niners pick up a 70 overall wide receiver in the 7th round out of the University of North Dakota. Decent pickup there. Nothing crazy. Giants look alright as they pick up a 75 overall player in the 3rd round at the strong safety position. The Jags had a pretty weak draft, it's looking like. Jets, mid. Audric Estime comes in at a 75 overall. Respect at a 3rd round pick.
Also, the Rice Delicious dude is going to switch to the Jags, not the Chargers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Holy shit, excuse me? Ooh.
You just saw who popped back in too, didn't you?
No, I see the fact that Aaron Shields, the halfback out of Kansas, is coming in at an 86 overall in the 2nd round. Comes in with 99 awareness and 94 speed, 93 acceleration, 99 carrying. The Las Vegas Raiders got the best kid in the draft in the 2nd round easily.
Wait, is this not faceless, WarEagle?
No.
Bro, I thought this was faceless this whole time. It doesn't matter. He's
No.
back in. It doesn't matter. He's back in.
I prefer this over faceless, actually.
He's never.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll
I
finish
really
up
thought
in
it
a
was
second.
faceless.
Rocket
That's my bad.
Sanders winds up at 77 overall, going to the Ravens. Cam Hart is going to be a 75 overall. Steelers had a decent draft, but nothing too special. Though I will say Jalen Wright coming in at 94 speed halfback is going to be great for him. Vikings had a quiet draft, but you know what? Their players were all good. And that covers it. We'll literally take a look at the highest overall players that came out. And yeah, Aaron Shields, the halfback out of Kansas, comes in at 23 years old at 86 overall. The best player in the draft. But you can see how it stacks up and where the top players in the league wound up. And I'm safe to say the Browns are very, very happy with their pickup this season. But that being said, that is the end of the draft, and that is going to be the end of episode 1 of the DSRL Roundtable. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and stick around if you're not in the league Discord. We are going to be posting a Discord link and some other socials. If you guys are interested, make yourself part of this league, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Seta, and you had WarEagle and Vet here as well. Shout out to the special guests, Coach OG Wood, Coach Pig Suey, and Humpy the Hunter for our sports betting segment. Arkansas State, thank you for being here as well as our draft expert. I appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, we'll see you guys at mid-season mark.
All right.